All right, so I am in front of the Lake Forest Mall. This is the second part of my video. I decided to come out to the actual property and site just to see how things are going. Today is actually Christmas Eve, and it's around 6 p.m., 7 o'clock, and typically this is around where most stores are starting to. All right, so I wanted to go ahead and own in on my observations of the mall from the parking lot, the entrance, and also from a location standpoint. So for context purposes, while I was filming right outside of the mall, security told me that filming was not allowed, so I did have to go back to my vehicle. But as I stated earlier, the parking lot displayed a very low amount of cars. Being that it's Christmas Eve, you would think that the mall will be packed with customers, even though that it is performing well, but that's just not the case here. As I was driving from Pennsylvania, there was a outlet mall, Clarksburg Outlet, that was approximately about 13 minutes from the actual site location. So that was one huge competitor. I also noticed that the mall is very close to Interstate I-270. I want to say it was about 5 minutes from the actual highway. So the mall definitely has potential to do well, but it just isn't. And lastly, about the zoning restrictions. So we know that from our project that zoning for this property was given for commercial use. So if there was office or residential that may exhibit some problems there, but later on where I talked about mixed use, we'll go back into that. So we're here at Lake Forest Mall, and this is Christmas Eve, 6:30, and most stores are starting to close around this time. And while most stores have a full parking lot, there is plenty of vacant parking spaces available for customers here. So you can clearly see that the mall is failing. There aren't too many shoppers as there should be on Christmas Eve. All right, so I want to go ahead and talk about the site being used as a mixed-use site. Now, in my actual conclusion, I recommended that the site be used as a mixed use with a retail tenant, a residential tenant, and a few other small retail chains. I thought it was great to point out that the Montgomery County population is very diverse and is still diversifying within the DCA, Virginia, and Maryland market. You still see a lot of people maneuvering over to Montgomery County. So I thought that was interesting. And you can tell too from the actual site that there were a lot of ethnic restaurants, ethnic grocers. So that was very intriguing to me. Also can tell that the actual site has a huge population of millennials and empty nesters. So that right there is driving the demand for your luxury apartment building, sure amenities, because that's what the millennials and empty nesters want. There's also a huge demand right now within the DCA and also Montgomery County for housing and retail. So that's why I picked for a grocery tenant and also a residential. So 10 minutes from the actual mall, there is a somewhat similar mixed-use commercial product that I would want the actual mall location to be. And as you can see here, you can see that this is somewhat of a new development. There's the Harris Teeter, and you can actually see that this parking spot is actually fuller than the actual mall. There's a Harris Teeter. There are a few other retail chains, such as a Starbucks, a Cleaners, a Verizon Wireless, and a huge parking center. So this is one example, which is just 10 minutes away from the actual mall site, that is doing somewhat pretty profitable, from what I can tell. All right, so that wraps up my site visit for this site at Lake Forest Mall and the surrounding area. I hope you enjoyed this last part of my presentation. Again, I still stand firm in that the site be used as a mixed-use product with a more luxury style apartment building and a grocery tenant, preferably a health market and what sort, and a few other retail chains.